Hello Hero, it's Lucy Lannon. We're back for the second instalment of our Marseille Mini series, looking at words in our esoteric tombola, psychic lucky dip, etc., beginning with the letter B. So it'll be interesting to see what we get. The crystals today are... sorry if that's very loud. Crystals today are a mixture of quartz and selenite, so definitely lunar vibes. But you sort of interpret as you see fit. My thing with that is probably that clarity is being sought, and I don't just mean in the sense of initially seeing a tarot reader, because that's obviously what you're here to do, but I mean in a broader sense. I feel like the collective message of these crystals is a lot of you are seeking illumination, seeking to feel less wild, as in the moon card, less kind of out of control. It's a time of, what do I want to say here? It's a time of scrying and oracle stuff for those of you who are into doing that in other ways. But it's also just clarification on the big picture. It's looking at themes that have been going on for a while now and sort of having them defuzz, reach resolution. We are filming this in Mercury retrograde, so that will be a component of that. Everybody seeks clarity at that kind of astrological time, but I feel like this is more pertinent and more specific to you as well, because if you stumbled upon this rather than just looking at a Mercury retrograde video, chances are that you want a message that's slightly more unique, and I think, yeah, that's your crystal message. Also, there is a stone that's not in that group. Let me just stand up for a second and show you. This, I believe it's possibly a kind of fluorite or something, but it might be, excuse my nails again, might be a kind of rose quartz, because I don't know whether you can see, but it's sort of vaguely pink as well. Anyway, interpretations are open for that one. Oop. Let me just check my mic. No, we're good. Yeah, that one's open to interpretation, but if it is fluorite, it might be a continuation if you just viewed the the A is for version of this video, of the Marseille Minis. It might be that idea of sort of... Sorry, ironic. We cut out there. I was just about to mention it might be to do with issues of digital interruption. How appropriate. But anyway. Right, going to carry on laying these out for you, and then you can pick from your pile 1, 2 or 3, and we'll get your random secret lucky dip word to determine what kind of reading you're getting. And I will do a 5-card Marseille Mini based on words from the letter B. Oh, before I do that, just a quick note, if you do want to add any words to the lucky dip envelopes, please include them down in the comments below. I will take anything except proper nouns and profanity, because we don't really like that on YouTube, although I do swear, so it's not going to matter too much, but you get my drift. Hi! Channel messages for pile 1. Heat. Somebody's thinking about their heater, about putting the heating on, having second thoughts about putting the heating on. I don't know, I mean, I'm filming this in May, so it's not really appropriate here, but it might be that at the time that you're viewing, there's some kind of thing around, should I put the heating on? Can I afford it, or will it bother somebody else, or an animal or a child or something you're sharing the room with? But I can tell you now, it is okay to put the heating on. Very specific, but it's for one of you. Alright, what else have we got? Pile 1, come on. Somebody's got a broken arm or a pain in the arm. That's clarification somewhere. Or something that extends into the hand. Someone might be having hand pain, but it's more to do with your arm. It's to do with tendons or something. But it's the extension of the forearm to the hand. I'm getting... my own forearm is receiving a bit of that, so let's just take a break for a second there. Right. What else? Oh, it might not be on the left side. I was told to tell you it may not be the same hand. Just in case. Right. Music. Someone's been making music. It's great making it in your room, and you have done really well with all the tools you have, but it might be worth going to an outside expert or another program, or getting a second opinion just before you release it, okay? So that's for some of you who are my at-home musicians, which is very rad, and well done you. Somebody's leaving for a job or to go to a school or something like that. Sensing more of an educational thing, but they're leaving town and you're very worried about it. And the message is not to worry, they'll be back. But it's necessary for them to leave in order for them to be back. That's interesting. So whatever it is that they gain by going away elsewhere is what will bring them back to see you again. So I don't know whether that's for like a parent of a child or someone in a partnership or whatever, but yeah, someone's going away for education and they will return. You have to have faith that they'll return and just get on with your own stuff for a bit. And don't get too sad about it, okay? Don't dwell on it. I'm getting major sadness. But it's not that sad an event. It's a positive thing for their life. And it's a positive thing that will bring them back to you. Just in a slightly different context, or with a different understanding of what that relationship was. Someone has a black cat, possibly between you and the screen. It looks adorable. What else? Let me switch hands, because I've still got a bit of that hand-wrist tendon pain going on for whoever that was for. Sorry about my squeaky chair. I promise you I'm not making flatulent noises. It's just terrible sound. Reflection or refraction or something. Someone's doing... I don't know whether you're doing a project on it or you're thinking about that as one of the things you could do it on. For some of you, you're painting, and you're painting reflective surfaces or like prismatic refracted stuff. And it looks fucking amazing. From what I'm seeing in my head anyway. It's very light and airy. There's like it's giving me Krypton vibes in the best way. Old Krypton, none of this, graded to boogery type stuff. For some of you that won't mean anything. You've still been painting prisms and things, but just ignore me, I'm old. That's what it's about, right. So for those of you who that applies, and you're thinking of that project, or you are doing that project, stick with it, get in a flow state with it, don't do it in installments. I think you've been planning it out in a way that's very structured, but the message here is do it for as long as you can when you're in the mood to do it, because that will gain the best results. Even if you're wiped out afterwards, do it in one bulk, because there's something prismy wanting to sort of take over a bit. Not in a creepy way, just, the idea kind of wants to come through in a continuous fashion. I hope that makes any kind of sense. Pram, check the pram. Don't know whether that's because someone's lost something or because there's something faulty with the pram. Yeah, just check the pram, that was it. Let me know down below in the comments if any of that hits you, because I love to know. I only get these fragments of things, and it'd be really cool to see sort of where they're coming from. Ooh, tiger. I'm hearing tiger, tiger burning bright, and I'm seeing the tiger who came to tea. I don't know whether any of you remember that book. Something about tigers. Are you visiting tigers, travelling? Thinking about going somewhere where tigers are? If you are, I'm very jealous. But yeah, tigers are a thing. Or maybe looking up the totem of tiger. Oh, I've got an itchy neck. Sorry. That can be part of the message, so I figure I might as well say it. But it could just be that my neck's itchy. Who knows? Alright, anything else? Okay, that's pretty specific. Right, I'm just going to rest my arm on this. I don't know whether you can see, there's a big crystal by me. I'm seeing, this may be to do with the prism thing or the glittery thing I was seeing before. But some of you will know the scene in Labyrinth where they have like a glittery masquerade ball type thing and David Bowie sings to Jennifer Connelly and it's all wonderful. There's something about that. There's something about the song lyrics. I can only hear the song Within You from later on in the film, but it's not that. It's the one from when they're in the ballroom bubble scene. When she's hallucinating because she's had the peach. If you've never seen Labyrinth, this is going to sound wild. But if you have, there's something about that. There's something about the lyrics and or the colour scheme, depending on whether you're an artist. But if you've come here expecting a relationship reading, I don't know whether it is one yet, but look at the lyrics to that song. I can't for the life of me remember what it is, but I'll link it down below if I remember the title. Yeah. And hello to my Labyrinth fans. Watch this space because there'll be Jim Henson playing card readings and all sorts of stuff. As well as Froud's Goblin deck. Goblin mode, maybe? Nah, it seems like a diluted message. It seems like just pop culture stuff. Okay, I think we're nearing the end of that. Ooh, back to the prism stuff. I'm seeing like really bright aquary kind of colour, like greenish end of turquoise but neon. Really neon. But it's in small doses, it's as an accent to the main colours. So I don't know whether that's like you were toying with the last thing to include in the paints or something, I don't know. But it's lovely, it's a great colour. Okay, right, let's shuffle these bad boys once again and pick your cards and then, oh, your cards are picking themselves. Crikey. Alright. This one. And that's all visible. I will double check in a minute, but this setup's not what I'm used to. I think this might, yeah, we've got another clarifier. We did this last time where I wanted to do 5 cards and it ended up being 6, but anyway. Right, so you can see I'm not looking because I'm behind the camera sort of over here. Oh, hello. Your word is boredom. Okay, let me just sit with these for a sec, there'll be a quick cut. Alright, Power One. I do get the sense this might be a creative pile, and I'm not just saying that because of the cardless channeled stuff. I think there is certainly reference to a creative project or a job that was recently left, or a situation that you left in order to pursue something creative, but there was a walking away from something, and that was because you're getting a sense kind of coming from, I don't know whether you believe in kind of spirit or something on high, or you know, a greater place that these ideas come from, or whether it's just that you believe in a kind of aspect of yourself that is subconscious and has like a partnership within your creative projects with your conscious self. You know, I'm thinking of the David Lynch catching the big fish type metaphors where there's like a part of self that descends into the realm of ideas and comes back up or whatever. But the reason I speak about either that sort of concept or a concept of like Godhead and source ideas, if you like, is because there's a sense of collaboration with something bigger than yourself, and it's not another person. I'm feeling specifically it's like an energy, if you like, or a concept. And that's what led you to walk away. Very recently, I feel. It may be that, I mean, you've just discovered this channel and kind of it's happened like yesterday or in the last week or whatever. But there's a recent walking away, and it's because of this sense of new collaboration, new working on it. And having like I want to say symbiotic, but that's not the word, a relationship of kind of osmosis with whatever this concept is, this bringer of ideas, if you like, even if it's within, that you feel ready that it's going to kind of transfer to you, what to do next. So it was appropriate to leave something where you didn't know what to do. Let's just get was that a job or a person or what? Oh, okay, so there was a state of there was a state of planning involved, but I mean, it's feeling almost entrepreneurial, but it's not necessarily a job card, so let's have a look. You've been spying on somebody, or... Oh, I see. Right, okay. You were watching somebody else plan something out. You've left a situation where rather than being the creative party, you were in a partnership or in a job or something like that with somebody who you were watching them make plans, right? And you were observing their creative energy and observing them kind of plot the future for themselves, maybe even plan some travel, maybe kind of send out various projects, upload various things, whatever. And you had been an observer in quite a close proximity. I think this is a person you know kind of IRL. This is someone you're regularly interacting with. It's not like you're spying on, Insta or whatever. It's very much somebody that you have a direct contact and relationship with. But you left that situation of watching, whether or not you kind of left the person, you left the state of being an observer to their creativity. Because for some reason you came to a realisation that you can be in a good relationship with your own. Now, the reason boredom is your keyword for the letter B is because you realise how bored you were just watching other people kind of live their lives, right? You got yourself to a place of frustration with, like, you can be happy for someone and for their endeavours, but also, stagnating in your own, and you made the realisation that living vicariously through whatever it was that this person was putting out was not fucking doing it for you. And it may even have been that they were putting out stuff in the industry you're in, or in a similar field, or something like that. There are several emotional cards, so it could be a relationship dynamic that you left, but there's also a lot about sort of creativity and work and speaking ideas. So, it could very well be that they had a project going on that reminded you that you used to also be someone who was very creative, and it was quite distressing for you to almost watch your life pass by as they embrace their creativity when you didn't embrace yours. Now, what that's led to in the present, almost to kind of exacerbate this sense of boredom, is that although you've successfully left this situation and that you do feel this collaboration with something broader than you, if you like, and this sense of like future legacy or a new path opening up, there's also a kind of grief and a kind of frustration, and you're still... I think you're here because you're still in the mode now of being like, it's not quite... I don't feel like I'm stepping forward quite yet. It's not good yet, it's not positive. And I think overall the reading is trying to tell you, no, it was a really good move, but it's just that you might not have it kicked in yet that it was a good move. Do you see what I mean? I think the process of leaving behind a bunch of stuff was so overwhelmingly emotional that then you're in a kind of state where it's like, well, I'm so busy dealing with the fallout of that mentally that it's not like I can suddenly concentrate on these new ideas that would have been coming in. So you've almost kind of gone to a state where you're like, should I regret this? Was this the wrong thing to do? Was this, but I think actually you just need time and rest. Rest is a big thing in this. I think our first response when we are truly bored, and bored in a spiritual sense, in the sense of true stagnation, we imagine that we need to busy ourselves with lots of different projects and start getting stuff, start everything kicking in already. And actually the message here is not to do that quite yet. It's okay that you're bored. It's okay that you're a bit sad about it. It's okay that you've left all this behind and you don't quite know what the next step is, because that's the correct state for the present moment. And really, to skip ahead to the outcome of all of this, you are going to get a lifestyle or a project or something which is kind of a dream come true for you. Your wish that you had in leaving this will be granted. But can I move again? Sorry. The interim step in that process is going to be one that's potentially a bit conflicted, a bit, what's the word? I think in the last, maybe in letter A, or in the last general reading that I did before that, there was something about this card in particular as a kind of, did you win or did you lose, you know? And it's a very ambiguous one. It's a very it can be talking about sore winners and something which seems like a victory at the time, but then ends up seeming like more of a loss. Or the reverse, you know, something that seems like a big loss in the moment and ends up being a greater victory than you could ever have anticipated within your life. And I think that it's that latter one. I think that what's being communicated here with the fact that you're bored and the fact that you're watching tarot readings and you're feeling a little bit crap about the whole thing is that actually I need to tell you this boredom, this stagnation, maybe even this grief for what you stepped away from is not going to be the sort of continuing state. This isn't a losing game that you've just played. You actually came out on top. It just doesn't feel like it yet. Okay? And with swords and a retrograde happening, if you're watching this at the time I'm uploading it, it can be this very kind of misty thing, this foggy sense that you can't really see through to what's happening next. You know, it's literal foggy air, right? Air is corrupting and clouding, or air enlivened by fire and water, which will be kind of steaminess, fogginess, clouds. It's almost as if the future isn't clear enough to you for you to be certain that you've made a good decision, but I'm here to tell you you have. Now, the clarifying card is interesting. I don't think this is here to clear up any specific issue with this, because it was a very straightforward reading. I think instead this is about maybe the person you've left or the person you'll become. So I'm going to just describe kind of who this is getting at in my understanding of court cards. And you can tell me whether this is like you left a relationship with this person or whether this is how you see yourself coming up, right? So this is a person making a creative offering. But the thing about them that I noticed with this particular deck, and by God, I love the Viéville, like, again, Tommy Cash looking motherfuckers, but they're all great. He's kind of holding something in his own way, not gendered, by the way. This could be a man, woman, or anything in between. But this idea that's being offered to the situation or to their situation, depending on your interpretation, is something that's almost blocking the true self. The left side of the body is blocked off, which means there is something about this creative interpretation that has been disingenuous. So for some of you, this will be this person you've been watching kind of spread their creative seed, if you like, that you've become frustrated by just being a kind of passenger in their life. It's an indication that this person's expression isn't all that it seems to be, and that it's coming from a place of guarding something else about themselves, or giving what it is that they think that people want at the expense of what it is that they're truly seeking to express. So it's almost like softening the blow, if that applies to you, particularly if this person is a fire sign or has what you would think of as like a fiery appearance, or, you know, like for me that's sort of you know, redhead complexion, or kind of brunette with a lot of tan and a lot of warmth to it, or it's somebody who has really bright, obviously fiery dyed hair, or just has a really extroverted, punkish kind of look to them. So that may apply, but also just, you know, take your interpretation of fiery in this thing, because I do think that it's meant to represent the person you left behind or the situation left behind for some of you, and then for other ones it's you. Now, if it is you that this is referring to, because there's a lot of people going to view this, so I like to keep it open for both sides, it's not indicative that the ideas that you will pass on in the future are, you know, carrying this falsehood, because actually time in this reading is moving in this direction, and this person is presenting the idea this way, so it's almost as if you're putting this to the past, right? But what it is saying is that maybe the way that you've expressed yourself before has been dependent on the way that you think that other people want to see or interpret you. You've given the ideas that you think would have been kosher rather than the ideas that you truly wanted to express. And I think this speaks to this sense of collaboration with something larger or with a bigger concept. For some of you, it's even like a hypersigillic kind of thing going on. It's really, you know, for many of you watching who are into the other stuff that I'm into, this is the experience of creating something out of mysticism. And it may be that you've used similar or adjacent skills previously, but they've not been to sort of communicate this direct truth, right? We have swords in this reading. It is about the truth. So for whatever that means to you, it can be artistic truth or it can be a kind of mystical expression. But just know, Power One, that I think that this is a good move for you. I think you're bored now, you're fed up now, it's crap. Maybe have a day where you just kind of easy on yourself in regards to that and view some inspiring media or chat to some people who fire you up or whatever. But it's only going to be a temporary state. And I think a lot of it actually is to do with recovering from whatever your prior circumstances were, whether or not they're related to this situation specifically. I think you've just stepped out of something pretty major and you need to give yourself a rest mentally. But very imminently, you're going to be able to pass these new ideas on in a way that just kind of flows naturally to you, to the extent that you haven't experienced before. And it's really exciting. So if you do want to let me know your creative projects down below, I'd really appreciate that. I'm excited to have a look at what you've been getting up to, or just to hear how this resonates, how you respond. If you'd like a reading about creativity specifically with me, or about things like gifts, purpose, self-concept, all of that kind of jazz, there are several things on that subject in my Etsy shop, which is linked in the description box. Or if you just enjoyed this mini and you want to leave me 50p or a quid or something as a tip, there is a PayPal link down there as well. But if not, I hope you like. Subscribe if you want to see more of these pick a card, lucky dip, tombola type readings. I really enjoy doing them because it's as much as a surprise to me as it is you. So yeah, like join the team, join the gang. And thank you kindly if you do. But if not, I will see you later. Pile 2, hello. How are you? Oh, I didn't do channeled messages. I just started shuffling instead. That's pretty... Are you trying to start something faster than is rational or reasonable? Rational or reasonable. Did I say that too fast as well? Wow, the Mercury is strong with this one. Yeah, I get a feeling of haste, of speed, of maybe rushing in with your words. Big Knight of Swords energy for those of you who read tarot as well. Okay, what else have we got for this pile? Let's have a look. Mazes, labyrinths. There was a message about the film Labyrinth in the previous pile, but I'm feeling this is specifically about the structure of a maze. I'm looking around my room and my copy of House of Leaves caught my eye, so that may ping for some of you, but generally speaking, we're thinking about labyrinths. Now, why? Why labyrinths? It's not a metaphor, it's something very visual. So, we're not talking about walking a labyrinth, we're not talking about the symbolism of, which is unusual for me. There may be something in your room that looks like a maze, like one of those little, what do you call them, where they have a ball bearing and you kind of tip them and it moves around, you know, as you do so. Or some kind of project with a maze, or a maze puzzle drawing, or something like that that's in your room, and that's your clarification for me that you're in the right place here. Yeah, I would normally go minotaurs and things with mazes, but I'm not getting that here. I'm getting specifically the structure and the drawing of a maze. Some of you watching The Shining. Hopefully not whilst getting a tarot reading, because I think that'd be quite the mix of energies, really. But you do you. You know, work with what you want to work with. Yeah, I'm getting Room 237 as well, so maybe some of you watched that recently. Cracking documentary. Okay, that's the maze message. Let's move on. Deep blue. Deep, deep blue. Like a sort of... for those of you who are colour nerds, I would call this a shaded cobalt. That's popping up, so maybe you can see something deep blue where you're sat, and that's your, hey, this is for you. Or maybe you're choosing between colours for something, and the deep blue is a great idea. Deep Blue Sea, maybe? I don't vaguely remember that movie. Okay, what about deep blue? No, that's it. Whatever I just said, that was it. Okay, they want me to move on. God, I've got a lot of artists, magicians and nerds in all of my piles, but some of you just purchased a cardboard cutout. I don't know whether it was for you or as like a prank for someone else, but it was a great idea. And if you believe in things like spirit teams, trust me when I say there is one laughing about it. Yeah, cardboard cutout. There's also a thing about feeling like a cardboard cutout or feeling wooden in the way that you're presenting to somebody. I think some of you guys are like, I need to switch around again, sorry if you hear my chair squeak. Some of you guys have got that feeling of like, oh, I come across as too wooden when I try and express such and such. And you've been like practicing in the mirror about something. But it really doesn't need to cause you as much anxiety as it has been doing, dude. It's honestly going to be fine. And I think actually the practicing of it and the self-consciousness about appearing wooden or appearing like a cardboard cutout in a particular situation is going to be, it's going to like almost put you off the situation more in the moment if you keep doing it. You just need to like free flow and I'm hearing spit rhymes, so that may apply for some people, but you know, you just need to like get on it with the communication and it will just start flowing. It won't be this thing that you have to rehearse, or maybe even like the rehearsed version isn't going to be useful to you. So this is a message to kind of not use up too much of your time doing that. You know, concentrate on just feeling a little bit confident with other things, and the right words will come in the moment. War cry, Xena. Some of you have a party in the house or building next door and they're making weird noises, and some of it sounds like Xena's war cry. Or perhaps some of you have a very rude couple next door that are doing exciting things. But there's definitely like hearing sounds from somebody else that are kind of weird. But it's good. It's funny. It's making me laugh. So maybe it's you making the weird sounds, or maybe you're being encouraged to make a random weird sound in this communication that you're nervous about if you feel nervous. It's a very good kind of banishing by laughter style thing to diffuse a situation. Like it makes me think of a situation in my own life where somebody was getting a bit angry, a bit road ragey, and they diffused the situation by suddenly Mongolian throat singing, and I didn't know that they could, and I was crying with laughter, and it was a beautiful way to, you know, completely deflect that communication in a different direction. So I think something like that might be useful to you. Or maybe throat singing is the thing, I don't know. But yeah, there's something about making random noises here that is like, it's going to be fine. Just make a noise and make everyone laugh and carry on. And they'll be so sort of, what just happened? That it'll go all right. The envelope that I'm using for this particular session is glowing currently, and it's a business reply envelope, but it's also like airmail, old style one. So some of you have been sending letters specifically or packages to somewhere quite far away, and that's, I think the message is it's going to get there fine, but it'll take a little longer than you expected. And this is specifically for people who are sending out, not people who have ordered something to receive. Oh, wow. I just got pulsating in my hand. I'm getting, as well as the funny sound from the party thing earlier, I'm getting like club music. How old do I sound? Not to get too Grandpa Simpson. Sorry, I'm just lost in Grandpa Simpson quotes now. Come on, back brain, come on. Yeah, so there's the noise of, you know, where there's kind of like a muffled thing to the outside of a club or a party, so that you know there's like a really good beat, but you can't quite hear what the song is. You just hear the vibrational resonance of that thing. That's what I'm getting. It's like a dunch, dunch. But with lots of weird bassy things going on as well. So that could be that you are in the party group and you're hearing people next door and they're very fucking loud. But it could also be just like... Yeah, there's a message there about feeling on the outside of a particular party. So I take that as a metaphor for a bit of FOMO. You might be watching this feeling left out. But there's reassurance being sent your way that actually it's okay that you're an outsider to this and that things will pick up and that you will find environments that are more appropriate for you, more suited for you. You will kind of find the other Jarmushian people walking the streets that night that don't have anything to do with that culture and are probably more interesting to speak to anyway, if that makes sense. For some of you it won't, but just know that, like, if you're feeling left out of something, or if there was a party you weren't invited to, things are going to pick up for you in a big way and you've not to worry about it too much. I'm also seeing dragonfly wings. So for some of you, you've got a dragonfly totem, or you've seen one recently, or there's some kind of message about dragonfly. The noise that they make as well is quite significant. If you're watching from the first pile and you were my musician and you're making stuff at home, this is going to sound kind of out there, but try getting dragonfly sounds or like flight sounds, things like dragonflies, insects, hummingbirds, and sampling them into the music. This is really specific, but whatever. Always. Always the brand. Fair enough. That might be in your room. But also always just the word. Not the song. Never the song. Yeah, something about always, I don't know. And this one of the quotes is sticking out to me. So there's something about the colour or the shape of something to do with that that's... Or maybe that one's just popping out for you if you're hearing the always thing and going, ah, yeah, that's for me. What else? For some of you, the smell in your room is to do with clothes that are under something. And you need to wash them and then the smell will go. You grubby buggers. Yeah, there's something about it like... It might not even be yours. That's the weird thing. But there's something about a garment that has something on it, or it's just been, you know, damp and left in a corner and it's gone mouldy or something like that. And it's been left under a pile of other things and you need to clear it up in order to have the room smell nice. That's not for all of you. I know many of you are very clean. And it's no shade if you're not very clean. Maybe you're not feeling yourself at the moment, but there is a definite message that if there's any of you out there that are like, where is that smell coming from? It's coming from clothes somewhere and you need to look under stuff. Maybe even under the bed, don't know. I'm hearing that song, well, I say song, but that little rhyme. I'm not going to sing it, but the lyrics are, I'm a pigeon, I'm a pigeon, I'm a pigeon, yes I am, but I'd rather be a pigeon than a man. It makes me think of seasides and good times myself, but I don't know, it will mean something different to someone who's hearing it out there. If the pigeon message is for you, let me know down below. I am a pigeon aficionado. Aficionado even, not aficionado, what's one of those? Mercury retrograde, taking my tongue. If you're listening to me in a park, feed the pigeons, alright? They may be giving you the eye. Just do it. It's fine. Pigeons are our friends. Yes, they carry some diseases, but no more than you'd get at a cash point, alright? And if you're responsible, you're probably, you know, masked up or carrying sanitizer or something anyway, so don't worry about that. Feed the pigeons. The pigeon collective is on at you. Porthole. Boat. Okay, some of you are taking your kids round some kind of sea life or, you know, aquatic centre sometime soon. If you are doing that, make sure the animals are well treated, for the love of God, because a lot of those places are a bit questionable. Although some of them are great and are great at conservation and things like that. So just check it out before you go. But the message here is, make sure your child doesn't run off. Nothing dodgy. It just might be quite difficult to find them because you don't know the layout as well as you think you do. So if you've got a young child and you're taking them around something like that, just keep an eye on them if they get over-enthusiastic and or hyper. And make sure you sort of keep them close to hip because there's something going on there. But like I say, it's nothing to worry about. They're not in any danger. It's just that they might skedaddle and you sort of lose them for a moment. Or perhaps this has already happened and it's just your confirmation for this pile. For some of you who are adults and you don't have any kids or intend to or whatever, or your kids are older, like you had an experience in one of those places when you were younger and you ran off and you were quite scared. And there's something about that that's echoing, like into future time, into now, into adulthood. There's something about the unsafeness of that you need to pay attention to. Because you are okay, you are safe. Bless you. That must have been scary. But again, that's for a tiny minority, so. Can we have some bigger messages? Ones that will be a bit more applicable to lots of people, please. Something about the roof in your office. I'm seeing one of those old style roofs that has like the little square things that you can kind of push up and remove, and in bad movies you would get into the venting and the ducts for the building by pushing those up and crawling through the vent in order to get out or escape the creature or whatever the hell. But I'm seeing one of those very vividly with like a fan near it or a light that is like slatted or fan shaped. So that may just be something you're looking at, or it may have more relevance to you. Maybe even you want to check the roof. For some of you, that smell of the clothes that are in the thing, that someone's put something in the roof. You tell me. Very strange, very specific. I'm just passing it on. It makes me think of Ron Swanson where he hides the bacon in the roof for backup. But anyway. That's probably not a message. It's just my brain responding to the messages I get. Okay. What else? Someone with red hair wants to see you really, really badly. Whether or not you want to see them. Okay. It would be wise to contact this person even if you don't see them. So yeah, let me know down below if that's the thing. I feel like you could just send them a text or a message or something if you can't see them in person, but they're really like trying to push into this reading. Powerball? I'm getting the word Powerball. I don't even know. Wasn't that one of those things you used to work out with, that you sort of hold it in your hand and it works your entire arm? Ah, if that resonates, you might want to watch the channels for the first pile, because there was something about like damage to an arm or a wrist that is actually more to do with the hand. Maybe it being overdoing the Powerball. I think that's what they were called. I don't know, but the word Powerball anyway. Yep, right, we're done. Let's get to cards. Oh, ow! Not me kneeing the table. Oh, that really hurt, guys. Okay, wow, alright. Are you over here? Are you over here? Okay. Alright. Communication is suddenly getting very straightforward. And your word from your esoteric tombola / psychic lucky dip is going to be, B is for big dick energy. All right, give me a minute while I get my head around this and I'll be back. You won't even feel the cup. All right, pal two. I was going to call you a sneaky bleeder, and then I realised that in my last few phrases that I've said, I've referenced banging my knee, bleeding and cuts. So that might even be a thing, but yes, pal two, you sneaky bleeder. I suspect you've been in communication with somebody here in a very low-key way, and, you know, male or female, and this is a very metaphorical dick, they've got their dick in their hand. So this is you, again, male, female, anything in between, looking the other way from this situation, whilst having your phone or, you know, laptop or whatever it is that you use, sending this person messages, but kind of looking for all purposes to the outside world like this is not what's going on. Now, I think the reason that you're hiding this, because this big dick energy is what's coming through the most, right? And I mean, just in a general feeling as well. The reason you're hiding this is that you don't want this person, who does have their cock in their hand, in a metaphorical sense, and is like, look, it's my dick. You don't want them to sort of realise how invested you are in sending the communications that you've been sending back and forth. Now, I don't want to judge, and it's not my place or whatever, but for some, to many of you, this is because this is a relationship, doesn't have to be het, doesn't have to be marriage, whatever, but something where someone is already in a situation, and you know that they are, and you're still kind of trying for it because they got that good energy, but you kind of have to keep it on the down low, and that's why you're like, definitely not doing anything here, you know, staring off into the distance. I am absolutely not doing this thing that I said that I wouldn't do whilst messaging this person. The interesting thing that I sort of notice about them, and again, this isn't specific to being attracted to dicks, this is just a message about the nature of the relationship in general, but they're holding their dick, right? They've got their sexual prowess, their big dick energy is on display for the entire world. They're waving it around like a fucking baton, right? They're the magician card, so they're very in control of this situation. There might be something who has a lot of tools, a lot of skills, a lot of people at their disposal, and they're sort of waving it about for all to see that they are this sexual being right now. But the interesting bit is that in seeing this as a dick, and I'm really sorry to anyone who has more respect for the Marseille than I do in that sense, but it's almost like they've pulled their dick away from where it should be, and they're kind of trying to cover that area with the other hand, the left hand, the intuitive, the receptive, right? So the real nature of the thing, rather than the outward expression to the world, is that they are covering up a part of their sexuality, but the way that they're speaking about it broadly is like, look at me, look at my swag, I am the greatest, I can have any person that I want, right? And I think this also plays into why you're like maybe not making it so obvious that you've been in communication, because as well as this possibility that there is something else going on for this person and that you're maybe overstepping or that they're trying to do some things which they shouldn't be doing, there is a sense as well that you're a little bit embarrassed by this or by the way that they've approached you. It might even be that their communication with you has been one that it was very heavily sexual. I notice he's staring into the distance away from the reading, so it's like there's a sense of like public ambivalence about a private thing that is very intimate. And what that could be, particularly because of some of the triggers for my channeled stuff before, is that you're dealing with a person who has more than their dick invested in this and is overplaying the sexuality of it in order to not have to communicate to the rest of the world that some changes may need to be made. Now, it could be you that's in a partnership, it could be this person, it could be that it's just a situationship and neither of you are committed to anything else, but there is definitely, for some reason, a sense that you need to keep it secret. Maybe even like an office dynamic or something, because of the stuff I channeled about the roof before, but whatever it is, right, they might have big dick energy, and they're certainly sexually appealing to you, but I don't feel that them fucking with you in a sexual manner is the whole picture. And I think that you know that, and you're trying to figure it out, but you're almost too busy looking away from this dynamic that you've had and onto other things and pretending that it's not happening and pretending that, you know, it's fine and you're the high priestess and you know what's going to happen and it's all good. It's like you're doing that almost too much to sort of explore it in your own head as well. And this is why you're seeing this reading. It's not, you know, you're not finding me just to see like, hey, there's this reader that knows what's going on. And hi, by the way, and please subscribe. But it's more that like you're seeing it not just for me to go, haha, big dick energy, right, and elbow nudge you, but for you to go, there is more to it than big dick energy. There is more to it than this person's perhaps sexual reputation or the way that they operate in general. They are covering something about themselves with this. I'm not going to say explicitly that it's that they have feelings, that they're trying to cover those. That is one possibility, but it's not going to be that way for all of you. It might even be that there's something about their sexuality or sexual preferences that they're kind of trying to hide whilst waving around this other identity. But for whatever reason, you're stumbling upon this as you kind of are getting to know what this thing is. And it's bothering you because you've been good enough to look the other way. You've been good enough to continue communications with them despite knowing that this situation is a little bit more complex than perhaps what you would desire. And it's almost like a bit of a slap in the face that they won't even acknowledge that they are speaking to you. Like, you're looking away, but you're still typing the message. They're just plain looking away. There may even be ghosting involved in this, or a kind of leaving you on red thing that you're getting a bit sick of. But just know that it has more to do with this person's reconciliation of their own identity to what it is that they're trying to portray. You know, it's that rather than an issue with you. So moving into the present, because that's the kind of recent past of this. I do feel like with this Four of Swords, you're having a rest, you're chilling out a bit, you're going, you know what, I'm a bit sick of this situation, I'm just going to sleep on it, or I'm just going to leave it a few days, or I'm going to somehow relax, and that's a very good state to be in. And I think that's what's brought you to then doing a reading that you didn't know was going to be a love reading, where, you know, you are finding out that this is going down. I think without that point of rest and a break from it, you may not have consciously accepted that realisation that, wait, there's something off with this person. It's not just that they're acting like this in public, it's that there's something more to their communications with me, that's specifically, you know, something they're trying to hide. You're trying to hide them in general, but the thing they're trying to hide, which also has a relationship to you, is also to do with themselves, their identity, their status, their sexuality, like I say. So moving into the near future, we've got a card which can be interpreted to be about singleness, and I do think this is indicative of you, partly because whether you're male, female, or whatever you are, it is, you know, when it's depicted as a single woman, it's a female card, and this is a female character that's your signifier. So whether or not you're in feminine energy, I think these are paired. So I do think if you're in a pairing, that may be something that comes to a conclusion because of this situation. Or if you are single, I think you're going to remain single for the near future, and I don't think that's a bad decision. As well as being about being single, it's a very empowering card. It's a card of someone who's living a luxurious lifestyle, has the money in order, is quite happy entertaining themselves, has good friends. You know, it's somebody who's doing well in being single. It's not somebody who's single and looking. And with the Pentacles emphasis, there is like a financial bonus to this as well. You know, from taking your mind away from this, having a bit of a rest and staying single for a little while, you're going to have your finances benefit, and you're not going to, because Pentacles are also about stability, it's not going to be too much of a complex time, providing that you stay in that singleness. I think what could overcomplicate it is if you involve yourself too quickly with this person in a way that goes beyond communication and gets into full-on sex. That said, something that's kind of being grounded at the moment that's coming from their end and which you can't see yet is this Four of Cups, which is a legitimate offer. Interestingly, an offer that's emotional in nature. So if this person has been trying to hide feelings, or even just trying not to express that they don't have feelings because they think some kind of dynamic with you will tarnish their reputation if they're too upfront about stuff, you're going to really find out the emotional truth of this situation either way. And it's going to come on with like an offer or an extension of something which goes beyond the sexual. Whether that's, but hey, could we be genuinely friends? Because, you know, I'm a little confused here. Or whether it's, you know, do you want to make something of this? Because there is love I've been hiding, or feelings at least. I'm just going to double check on the nature of... okay. So for this offer from them, it's actually quite a big leap for them. It's something that's really... I think it's groundbreaking for them to come towards you in a way that it isn't for you to go towards them. You're very happily communicative, and your present state is in Swords energy, so that again is about speaking, communicating, being okay with the truth. Not so with them, right? The attribution of the Magician is hotly contested in terms of elements, but I would read it as being kind of all of them because of the tools traditionally on the table. And I do think that that is indicative of there being a mix of places they're coming from. Are they communicating thoughts, feelings? Are they just wanting to get on with practical stuff? Are they just feeling sexy? It's all up in the air. And for them to kind of secretly decide about it, figure out what this thing is that they're hiding, the kind of truth that accompanies them wherever they go, whether or not they're watching it, and then come forward with that truth and say, hey, you know what, this is how it is. That's going to be a really big deal. So possible advice for this pile is that if they do come towards you with an offer and it's not something you like, or it's something that you outright refuse, which can be the case with the Four of Cups, just know that it took them a lot to get to this point. So if you're turning them down, be nice. If you're not turning them down, be aware that this was a huge leap for them and treat them sort of gingerly in accordance with that. And it does imply, I mean, again, he's not looking to you, but he's moving towards you. And that's more of a step than this guy who's just stood there staring into space. So there's progression to an understanding between you of what's actually been going on and really direct communication about it. Maybe even not having to be secret about whatever it is anymore. But I'm not going to promise that because it's not, you know, a big extended love reading. All are available in my shop, by the way. But this is just indicative of the next sort of turn in the wheel for communication. And I do think they're coming towards you. They're going to offer you something. Whether or not it's something you want to take, it's the truth. And it took a lot for them to say it. So just be mindful of that. But if you do want to stay in single energy, that will be really beneficial to you. Even if they give you a love offer, I'm sort of veering towards maybe don't take it, but say, I have feelings for you too. If you do, I mean, you might not, but, you know, if it's reciprocated, express that you feel the same way, but also that their behaviour so far has been extremely full of red flags, and that for the moment you want to stay single, or you just want to date very, very casually without so much sex involved or big dick energy involved, and see where it goes. Because I do think there's value in being on your own currently. And if anybody's coming to this from a marriage or a long-term partnership and they're worried about this card, I do think that if you transfer into that kind of energy, it's going to be for the best. And if you're really not, if you're happy with your partner and you're really not feeling that you're going to be single, again, tiny amount of people for whom that's the specific thing, maybe look at how this communication, if found by your partner, would reflect on you and whether it's something that a non-single person should be doing. Because I think there's something to that as well. Okay, so if you want further from me, like I say, down below is the Etsy link in the description box. There's also an opportunity to donate and just leave me a tip for today's reading if you fancy. If not, please like, subscribe, ding the dong for more alphabetized amazingness. And if you want to give me any letter from C to Z, in terms of just random words that you'd like to put in the envelope for picking out next time, absolutely comment down below and I will consider it and put a heart by it if I've included it. Okay, hope you're alright, pal too. Take care, I'll see you soon. Pal 3, let's get into your channeling before we give you a shuffle. Some of you have been doing shadow work or dealing with shadows. This may even be in a fictional sense. There's something about shadow and darkness here. And it's not bad, it's not negative. You don't need to be spooked. But it's just a reference that might be, confirmation for some of you. Hoping that you can hear me. My mic seems to be dropping as I'm leaning funny. 2 seconds, let me reshuffle. Reshuffle. So some of you are rearranging, clearing out, maybe doing a bit of a KonMari or just moving things around in the schedule. That is going to be really beneficial to you. Be careful that you don't shuffle anything out of existence which you will need later. Particularly if you're doing a physical KonMari of your stuff or a digital one of files. Make sure you don't get rid of anything that you're going to have an imminent use for. And if that's happened in the past, that's confirmation for you that this is where you should be. Greta. Name Greta. So that might be someone in your family, or it might be Greta, I can't think of her name, but the wonderful environmentalist campaigner, or Greta Gerwig, or something like that. I don't know, but there's Greta here. Big Greta energy. It's not a common name either to just pop into my head, so... Little green bean. So for some of you this is a Grogu reference, but for many this is somebody calling you little green bean, or there's beans being spilled. Slight reference to pile 2 in the beans being spilled bit, because I'm thinking of somebody who once said to me, I'm okay with spilling my beans. And they came up in that pile a little bit, so if you felt called to both, do both. I'm not saying that for extra run time. I genuinely mean it when I say it, and I don't do it very often. What else? Heart of glass. Someone's been listening to it, or there's something about having a heart of glass, or a glass. The other thing that came into my head was like Glass Kingdom, or Crystal Kingdom, or something. I don't know, but glass. I'm seeing a glass heart. Possibly a gift of a glass heart. I don't know. I'm shaking my head here because sometimes I pass this stuff on and I'm like, really, dude? I don't even... I don't even know. Okay. Don't get too big for your boots. There's some kind of project where you feel very qualified, and you are, but that's not a cause for arrogance. There's a kind of bit of a universe check yourself before you wreck yourself low-key going on here. You have the information you need, you have the experience you need, but you don't need to flaunt that to other people in quite as big a way. So don't get too big for your boots, and don't take stuff for granted, okay? For some of you, you've had a weekend a bit like me, where you've realised something about a person that you've been taking for granted. And they may be with you, they may not be with you anymore, but there is something about that, and about paying attention to that and paying tribute to that in whatever way that you can. I know that for me it was to write a little bit of a diary entry about that person and to sort of acknowledge that I hadn't always treated them well and vice versa, but that, you know, there was something deserving of note there. So that may be something that applies to this relationship with you as well. I'm being told to say it's not a relationship that's in danger if that person is still with us. It's just that you need to act before you take it for granted. Yeah, you need to change your relationship to that thing before it's not available to you in some way, or before that person feels maybe a little underappreciated or whatever. Just make sure you're checking in with them in the correct fashion. And by correct, I mean whatever speaks to you as being, you know, morally good. Okay. Blue eyes, eyes of blue. I'm thinking 2 by 2 hands of blue. But I'm also seeing someone with bright blue eyes. I'm also seeing the eye from the intro to the X-Files, so some of you have been watching it. Or there may be a song about blue eyes. I want to say it's a modern song, like last 2 years, purely because if it's older than that, I usually get told it, but I am not down with the kids. So if it's a thing about blue eyes and it's released over the last couple of years, I probably have been too in my bubble to actually hear it and pass it on accurately. So please let me know down in the comments, to benefit anybody else who's got this pile, what your blue eyes song is, if that resonates. Power surge. We got Powerball in the last pile, but we're getting Power surge now. So if any of you are leaving to travel or anything like that, make sure your electric's turned off, please. Or it could just be that you've had a power surge in your building, or something's broken and you're not sure why, and it's the fuses. But there's something about a power surge, and it is in a literal electric way. It's not absolute power or something like that, you know. Something about rosemary in the garden. I'm thinking of a person, but that could equally be the plant. You've been planting it, or you need to plant it. Or that there is rosemary growing in your garden kind of by itself or from a previous owner, which would be amazing and very lucky. If that's the case, please look up rosemary, because there's all kinds of interesting properties to it, both herbally and in a kind of folkloric, synchronistic sense. But yeah, something about rosemary in the garden. What else? Silver hair. If you're getting grey hairs, don't freak out. Firstly, just objectively, they're insanely attractive. Secondly, it's not like a sign of doom, it's just ageing. That the culture has a problem with it should not be a reflection on whether you do, okay? I think some of you have found your first few and you're freaking out. Not necessarily because of appearances, but because of what having a grey hair implies for you, timeline-wise. But honestly, those are your lightning streaks. Wear them with pride, okay? Or if you don't wear them and you die over them, just know that it's not a bad thing that time is moving on. It might even be a bit of a cue to look back. Okay, right, you know I said lightning streaks? Universe is saying lightning rod. So the reason that you're seeing the grey hair streaks in a particular way is a call to look back at the moments in your life which were a lightning rod, i.e. the landmarks, really. It's a time to be reflective and to pause and to sort of go, you know what, I may have my first grey hair and that may freak me out, or my first few, or a full head of grey hairs, who knows. But I'm going to look back on what that means in terms of the realm of experience that I've been lucky enough to participate in. And also, this is from me and not a channel message, but genuinely for many people, they won't be old enough to get grey hairs. They won't have that opportunity. So I do think it's a thing to wear with pride and with due respect for the fact that, you know, you're lucky to be healthy and have a longer life than some people get. I don't know. That's really specific because I'm disabled, I'm on a timeline in that sense, and I know a couple of other people who would love to have the opportunity to get grey. There's something about getting old and grey with someone as well. It's maybe the person you've been taken for granted, but there's this idea of like you could be getting old and grey together if you step up a bit and if you pay them the due attention that they deserve. For a very small number of you, there's someone that got grey with you that's now not here, and they were glad they could get grey with you, if that makes sense. That's very sweet. Wow, I don't normally pick up on stuff like that, but that was intense. Just a sec. Sometimes when stuff's a bit heavy, my arm seizes up as well. I'm hearing a name and it's like Valissa or something. So it might be, I know Vasilissa and I know Melissa. But it's something that sounds like it sounds almost like a mix between the two or something that's like in that realm. I don't know, but that's coming up as well. And they love you. Oh. Nice feeling from that person, whoever they are. I do know one Melissa actually, and she's absolutely rad and has a very similar energy to this, very sunshine from within kind of quality. Very appreciative, very loving. But yeah, Valissa, I don't know whether that's a name. I'm just saying it like that because I'm like, I've never heard this. I don't know whether I'm fucking up the pronunciation of something that's spelt that way or what. Car, what about it? Some of you have been having car dreams, specifically car nightmares. When we have nightmares about cars, it's to do with the way we're treating our bodies. So driving around a car that is stolen or is like being mistreated in some way or that is difficult to drive is all indicative of like a reckless use of one's health and well-being, or like a sign to sort of pay attention to health in a more acute way. So for anybody who's been having nightmares about cars, that's what it is. Even if the car is running you over and coming from nowhere, the threat here is not the driver, it's this idea of your body being out of control. And it can be brought into your control. It can be brought into a positive relationship. That's why you're having the dreams about the cars. And if you're having dreams about cars where you're having a great time, good for you. So's your body. You're treating it well, yeah? Yeah, I think that's your lot. Okay, let's shuffle and get to it. Last one for the letter B. Wow, all right. I don't normally read reversals with these, but I'm going to for this guy. For this last, sorry. All right, is that these or these? Don't know whether you can really see on camera, but these just all fell down. I'm not taking them all, but I will take this one. And let's return you to the shuffle pile and just get our last card. Thank you. I'm not taking that in reverse because of the way it fell. 2 knights. Wow, okay. And from the Psychic Tombola, the Esoteric Lucky Dip, your word beginning with B is begging. B is for begging, right. There'll be a quick cut, you won't even feel it. Okay, pile 3. I did take a quick clarifier just for this one, which is the Sun in reverse. I probably should start reading out what the cards actually are, but I kind of like getting in the flow of just relaying the story rather than doing that. So let me know down below if you do want, because I know for this deck it's not always clear what the cards are if you're not massively experienced with tarot. But yeah, we've got the Sun in reverse for the clarifier, and really, like, I wanted to clarify this, but overall it is a very straightforward story. So the feeling sort of prevailing over all of this is that what you're begging for, because the beggar is you in this, is a kind of recognition, or I want to say you're begging to feel happy, to be quite honest. I'm sorry if that's really triggering for anybody to hear, but there is a sense that for a long time you've been feeling spiritually abandoned, or just in the sort of mode of adversity, you know, one thing going wrong after another, particularly where practical and financial concerns, or the body, again with your channeled messages, but particularly where they sort of factor in. You're feeling very unstable in general. Your foundations are being rocked. You may even be having base chakra issues, so stuff to do with your lower back, your butt, tailbone stuff going wrong, all that kind of stuff, or even like nerves, nervous system stuff can be sometimes root stuff as well. If that's not true, that's fine, but for some of you that will be indicative of a feeling of foundations being rocked, or of not being able to trust things at the root. And if the medical stuff is resonating for you, I would invite you to look at things like the Louise Hay affirmations. You don't have to take on her entire belief system. I agree that bits of it are problematic, but things like the affirmations for specific physical conditions can be really helpful when, for instance, you know that you're dealing with a stability issue and that's what's going down. Either way, I get the sense that you're feeling like life has hung you out to dry for a good solid while. And I don't just mean with the state of the world, I mean for you specifically. So this begging is for happier times. And with the Sun in reverse, there's a kind of internal acknowledgement that this is something that's possible for you. You can feel happier. I can tell you from your reading, you will feel happier. But it's almost like you're begging for the opportunity to just perceive it that way. You may be even begging for this reading and for somebody to reassure you that shit is going to get better in from here, you know. And it is. But the Sun in reverse is quite often a blockage to happiness that's self-inflicted as well. So part of the problem here is not just what's been occurring for you. It is your mindset about it, and the fact that you almost feel unable to move forward, which is pretty ironic in a reading where there are two knights who are all about movement. Now, I suspect this has affected your creative energy, also your communication. But yeah, I suspect creatively you've been feeling very blocked. If you're a mother, you may have found that particularly hard at the moment because we've got Empress reversed. But certainly there's a blockage in the regular cycles of things. With it being root chakra, this may even be your literal cycles are all over the place or are particularly difficult to deal with. I mean, things like endometriosis and stuff like that are further up. That tends to be sacral, but there's a definite link between root chakra stuff and periods and reproductive cycles. Some of you, it might be a menopausal thing, but it's certainly like there's something cyclical or a pattern. Even if you don't have a womb and you never have had and you never will have, there's something that should be happening. And I'm looking at the lunar crystals we've got as well. Should be happening kind of monthly for you that isn't, right? So whether that's a practical thing or a bodily thing. It's just like stuff isn't fitting together anymore. And it's not in a direct and obvious relationship to these adversities that you've faced, of which there may even be 5, or 5 major ones anyway. It's more that like, it's just this feeling of stuckness and stagnancy and like, well, is anything going to fucking go right then? has left you unable to express yourself, unable to give out love, unable to feel abundant in any sense, you know, friendships, money, any of it. And certainly unable to create, whether that's dreaming up the next bit of your life or it's creation in a very literal sense. Now for the present energy, we're starting to come out of it actually. You're in the world, so the world is becoming your oyster in the most literal interpretation. But also this is indicative in this particular deck to me of starting to socialise again. Perhaps you were like me and you were someone who was locked down for a lot longer than the non-vulnerable world, and you're sort of starting to mingle or starting to be a little bit more free with the exchange of ideas, even if you're not out and about as much. So there are more inspiring conversations going on. There are things that are slightly perking up your day, even if you're not feeling 100%. That process of getting out there and partying again, it's on its way. And I'm noticing that this isn't the world dancer that you see in some of the other decks. It's not in motion, so it may be that this isn't literally going out clubbing, which is why I did that. You're not going out and mingling and meeting people necessarily, but you are in a state where the two different sides of you in this cloak that have been fighting with each other, the pessimist and the optimist, are kind of coming to some kind of agreement, and generally your mood is improving, or it's about to improve very imminently, because this is right now energy. In the near future, I actually think this will transfer completely into feeling very sexy, very bold, very able to rush ahead into new things. But there is, with this horse looking back at the rest of the reading and the rider wanting to go a different way, there's this sense that, like, not all of you is in agreement about this rushing in with stuff. The overall outcome, to skip to the end, which I quite often do by this card, is that you are going to be feeling a momentum again. You're going to be feeling like you can at least explain yourself, at least communicate well about what's happened. You're ready to take it on. Swords are very martial, they're very conflict heavy, but the Knight of Swords is like a defender. It's almost as if your inner spirit of fatherliness and defending yourself is coming up to the forefront of your consciousness. And there is like a protector energy that you're placing around yourself so that you feel brave enough to take steps which you felt were taken away from you in whatever's happened. So it's kind of, you're not going to need to beg for happiness anymore, because the position is no longer that happiness is something that can be gifted to you from the outside. I think that it tilts on the axis of this world card here, because this is the moment where you realise actually what's going to happen for you is not dependent on what you're given, it's dependent on what you're taking. You know, in shadow, this card would be the Conqueror energy, and it's very much like you can take back your life in quite a literal way. And you can draw a ring around yourself, a line in the sand, a salt circle, whatever image you see fit, but you can put a stop to this. Even if it was stuff that wasn't relational, you can draw a boundary with it that allows you just to charge forward into the next thing, which is what this is communicating. I honestly think your only obstacle from this point into the near future is going to be this idea that something else will go wrong, that this horse kind of rearing up and saying, turn back, all the scary things happened, it's too scary to move forward, something else will. And really what you're being encouraged to do is follow the line of sight of these characters into the future and away from this past energy where you are at the present. You're reflecting on what's just happened to you, you're feeling slightly better, but now is the time to turn your head and go, okay, if I had to take back my life at this point, and if I didn't beg anymore to be happy from something outside of myself, and if I just decided right here in this moment and on this particular day that I will make my happiness in every second, that, no matter what odds are against me, no matter what my body's doing, no matter how poor my finances are, no matter which world conflict is going on, etc., etc., there is a moment-to-moment handling of the situation which I can harness, and only I can harness. And it's time to stop looking to the outside of me, whether that's a person or a set of friends or even a belief system, to, like, quote-unquote, rescue me from this, when my responsibility is moment-to-moment feeling better. For many, this will be a depression reading. This will be about taking things one step at a time in really baby step ways in order to create a momentum which actually becomes very speedy and very efficient and high functioning in the future. And I know that seems like an almost impossible task from where you are and from the things that genuinely have happened to you, which were shit. And I'm really sorry that they did happen. But there is a transference now into, if you cannot rely on external events, if you cannot rely on the body, if you cannot rely on people around you to be reliable or steady or, not to be disingenuous or whatever it is, and all you have is yourself, what is it that you're going to do? And if that's to stay in bed for an extra 5 minutes because that gives you the most pleasure, that's okay. If it's actually to do something really dynamic and that you think you're almost incapable of doing because it's such a big task and you're sorting out such a lot of stuff, that's okay too. I can tell you now that at least in the immediate future you will be able to do that. You will be able to take back the reins on things. And like I say, the only thing that would be stopping you there is the doubt that you'll get halfway through and get derailed. Whereas actually I think that if you get into a flow state with it and you really start planning or moving forward or doing or whatever, you are going to race forward. 2 nights is a lot of forward moving energy. And it's going to turn this Empress card, male, female or anything in between, back into the upright, back into creativity, back into abundance, back into luxury, and back into feeling that the cyclical stuff is sorted out and that you can handle the fact that something comes around every month, whether it's payday, whether it's your menstrual or lunar cycles, whether it's just that this feeling that you're in at the moment seems to come back a lot. Or missing a person for some of you, because again with the channeled stuff for this pile, I'm thinking of the person that I was remembering and taking for granted and stuff like that, and there's almost a sense of like, well, things can't be that good again and I mustn't race forward and stuff. But that is part of this Empress as well. And it is now your responsibility to turn it around and not to rely on figures like that person in your world to make things all right again. Not to try and put yourself out there because you're seeking a certain type of interaction, even in friendship or whatever. But to be the thing which you seek in whatever way you can, in as small a moment as you can get to grips with. And then trust that that will give you momentum to keep doing little things like that and eventually move out into a space where actually you look back and you go, I really handled this month or 2 months or a year. Like I properly nailed it and I'm not begging for happiness anymore. I am my own happiness. I don't need to beg anyone for anything, be it money, anything. Because I think if you're getting into that synchronistic state of flow, it will start to come easy to you. What's not easy is the belief that that's the case. It is a real paradigm shift, and I get it. So I hope that was helpful, pile 3. If you'd like a private and more extended reading from me, the link is down below. If you'd like to chuck me 50p or a quid or whatever for this one, there's a PayPal donate button as well. And if not, I really hope you like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. And if you want to suggest any words for the other letters, I'll take anything but proper nouns and profanities. And if your word is included in the little envelope, then it will be, the comment will receive a heart down below. All right, take care. You've got this. Do the next thing that makes you happy without begging for happiness to come from outside of you, right? And then just see where that leads you. It might lead you back to bed, but I promise you that if you keep doing that from moment to moment, you will be all right. Okay.